Alright, so this is another angry fanboy rant, and I have two things I'm addressing in this one. I'm going to piss off people, and hopefully maybe encourage some to, you want to talk about things, come join my forum site, the NintendoElement.com. It's on my Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Okay, so the first one is the Wii U, and I know people out there who have it, for the most part, do have some fun and enjoyment with it. That's all it is. It's a game system. It's games. Games are supposed to be fun, and if there's no fun for it, then why are you playing games? You bought it. You may not have thought there's going to be a huge drought in releases. It's a new system, and like most new systems, not just the Wii U, there's not a whole lot of games in its first few years for the most part. I mean, there's not like there's nothing. There's still some great games for the system. You're just like me. You're not as open-minded, and you're not as willing to spend $60 on a game that may suck. And if you're like a lot of newer gamers, newer age gamers, digital gamers, you're downloading games, and at $60 a pop plus 5 or 6 gig download size, you're completely missing the point, and you're ruining it for yourself. I get it. Digital gaming is great, and that's where we're going, and I hate it. But digital gaming is going to ruin things unless they have a way to have fucking refunds. The one huge thing I've downloaded for a retail game was Pikmin 3, but that was free because it was freaking free with Mario Kart 8 because I got that before the July 31st deadline last month. That was it. I'm not downloading another retail game, for God's sake. I can't afford to freaking waste $60 on something I can't then take back to trade or sell. eBay or GameStop or any place. There's not many games for it, I get that. And it's not selling as well as it should be. PS4 sold 10 million freaking units. That's great, but what games are on your system that aren't PS3 HD slightly improved remakes? Remakes to me are pointless when it's barely been a year since they came out. Oh, we smoothed the face. Oh, this, oh that, yay. I just bought it for $60 a year and a half ago. Why am I buying it again for $60 a year and a half later, for crying out loud? That's asinine. That's stupid. That's money grubbing. That's bordering on the insanely illegal. I mean, it's not like it's illegal, but I mean, like, with you guys, you can't just port the same damn. You can't have backwards compatibility. You had it. Both you guys, Sony and Microsoft, had that on consoles at some point in your history. You lost it. How did you? It cost more to include that feature. Really? How much more? If it reflects on the console's MSRP, how much effect are we talking about? If it's huge, then drop something else. Do you need all these things? I'm not a huge fan of the bells and whistles of the console, and God knows the really only bit of enjoyment I've got with my Wii U is watching Netflix on my gamepad or YouTube or you know, using the internet for YouTube or what have you. I mean, come on. I don't need that in a console. I want to play games, and right now there's not much of it. And there's not many games on any system that I'm worth playing console-wise. I own some 3DS games that I get more enjoyment out of. I played Animal Crossing 1200 hours on my 3DS. I got Mario Kart 8. I got it, but it's not my favorite Mario Kart 8. It's a tuner-based racing game series now, and it completely turns me off in that respect. You lost me there. You lost me a little side of Nintendo. Don't think I love Nintendo with 100% of my heart, body, mind, and soul, because I don't. I gotta do a rant. I've probably done a few rants on how much I hated the Wii Virtual Console. Go through my YouTube video channel and you'll see a dozen or more videos, probably on how much I hated it. Anyways, I get it. People say, well, why don't this is a great game for PS4, it's a great game for Xbox. You should totally get the game. I don't own the system. Well, get the system. I'm not spending another $400 on a console for one freaking game. I got Wii U because I wanted to play Lego City Undercover. And I love that game. That's one of the best Lego games ever, and it's Nintendo. Technically, Nintendo developed or published game because it's got all the Nintendo, it's got the Mario references in it, so it's a first-party game in that respect. But the other games I love, Lego games on Wii and the ones I own for Wii U are all great. Those are the ones I want, and the ones that I would get for the other consoles are those kind of games. Are the simpler licensed games. I don't do exclusives on non-Nintendo consoles. I just don't. I run a PlayStation back in 2002, and I loved the Spyro series. Those are exclusives at the time. I love the Crash games. Those are exclusives. Gran Turismo's, love those. Those are, I mean, they're still exclusives. I love those. Need for Speeds were great, Tomb Raiders were great, or Resident Evils were great on the PlayStation. PlayStation 1 was one of the best consoles, and I don't think I hate all Sony things. I love Sony, but as a company in the current generation, I can't stand. I can't support them. I'm sorry. People don't like Nintendo. I get it. I don't like Sony. Do we really need to explain why we're a fanboy of this and not a fanboy of that? But okay, so I'm going to change subjects now, and I really hope I'm not interrupted again, because I have been. This is like a fifth attempt trying to get this thing done and count down to the top 100 game list as recently published online and wherever else by Empire Magazine. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the games I know well enough, have played, have seen played by friends, or I feel as if are definitely deserved or undeserved of their placing on this list, higher or lower, or not even listed, or not even included. Okay, so we're gonna go to 99, which I think is one of the hugest insults in gaming history, to put so low. Crash Bandicoot. The game character, the Sony mascot character that literally blew the world apart in 1995 or whenever it came out on PSX, because it ended the console war. It made Sony jump miles ahead of Sega and miles ahead of Nintendo. Nintendo caught up eventually, but Sega pretty much plummeted, and we all know the Dreamcast wasn't released at the proper time, and that's what happened there. Crash Bandicoot's number 99. This is the cat who's video bombing me. As long as this is all it does, I'm fine. Okay, so that's number 99, and that's so wrong. It's just so wrong. And then you scroll down the list. I'll do it momentarily. And you see other games that I'm gonna go through a few. Just casually mentioning 97 is Mario Galaxy 2, number 94 is Super Metroid. Those should both be higher than the freaking mid to low 90s. Go down. Okay, the one that I have to flag, and I know it was huge. It was a huge first online Wii game, and that's Smash Bros. Brawl. Sonic and Snake, and I loved it. I got to because Sonic and Mario could finally take it out on each other after the 90s console war 20 years ago. That was like the most beautiful thing in the world for me, playing a Sonic against Mario, just wailing on the plumber. Number 85 though, and if I have to say this about any of these gaming lists, if you don't include the first in a franchise that went on to be hugely successful by itself, or launch a hugely successful franchise, in which clearly Smash Bros. Is, Super Smash Bros. The N64 original is not on this list at all, and if there's one I'm putting on this list anywhere, it's going to be that one or Melee. Melee I love because that was the one that took it from a kiddie arcade fighter comedy, haha, lol, comedic game to a much more broader, more involved, more in-depth title, and then Brawl obviously expanded on that. But I would put 64's the original on here so much higher than most of these games. That's at least in like the top 30 for me historically. The games that have actually had the time to be compared to and contrasted to should be on this list ahead of a lot of these. If you're looking at this, if you want to see this, go to the NintendoElement.com, and it's one of the more recent threads, and it's posted on other sites across the web, or just do a Google search for it. Okay, we're gonna go down. I see a few games I instantly recognize and have to flag. Well, going back up, 88 Star Wars Battlefront 2. Star Wars games are great. I think one that I know that was huge, and the first Battlefront was huge, and there's other games that are huge or worse than those. I would say I would put one of the Rogue Squadron games on here for N64 or GameCube, because those are all huge, and that's a great trilogy of games that tie into the original trilogy of the games, of movies. I mean, Chrono Trigger at 76, and that's a huge RPG that should be way higher than that. One thing missing from this list is that as I go down it, there are no racing games. No Gran Turismos, no early Need for Speeds, because those are the ones I ever like. No Ridge Racers, and there's no cruising games, which are the Midway games that were on arcade then ported to N64. Those aren't on here. No Pole Position. I mean, that's one of the first huge games from back in the day. Huge arcade racing game. Another thing missing from this list, there are no arcade games save for, and we're going to skip past a little bit just to get down to it. Street Fighter 2 is number 40, and that's the only arcade game, proper arcade game that's listed on here, and that's so wrong. There should be so many more, and that one at least should be way higher than 40. Okay, so we're going to go back up. Scroll along if you can. 53, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog. It's 53. Really? Below The Secret of Monkey Island, I don't know it. I'm not going to say it's a crappy game. But see Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega's Mario, the mascot that battled the plumber, the blue blur, the fastest hedgehog on 2 feet, the Mobian who ate chili dogs, if you know the comic canon, is number 53 on the list of top 100 games of all time. There are better Sonic games I know out there, because there's a huge Sonic crowd, and I'm not as huge a Sonic fan, not as huge a Sonic gamer as I should be, sadly. But Sonic the Hedgehog 1 should be top 10. There is no doubt in my mind about that. Okay, going down. A few below that was Wind Waker, Zelda, and that's a good spot for me. That stood its test of time. That's your GameCube generation, because anything from the early 2000s, pre last generation, pre the Wii, PS3 generation, it's fine with being on this list. Anything newer than that really shouldn't. Anything from 2006 on really shouldn't be continued. Shouldn't be added to this list, because they don't have enough lifespan. Wind Waker's been out forever, been out for well over a decade. That's fine. That's a good spot for that. Okay, so for 50 is Majora's Mask. Fine. I think this should be a bit higher, because that is everybody's favorite of those classic Zelda, of the N64 Zelda games of that era of Zelda. Below that is ahead of that, I should say, at 49 is RE2. Resident Evil 2 is probably my favorite of the series. That wasn't an original for a Nintendo console. It's a PlayStation one, and that was one of the best games of the PlayStation era of the 90s. Resident Evil 2 should be way higher than 49. Ahead of that is Tomb Raider at 46. That should be higher. Both anything from the PlayStation era should be top 40. It should be bumped up 10 spots more. After that, it's Final Fantasy X, and that should be, I think that's fine. I don't know this game as well enough, but I figure there's enough people out there who would argue that should be higher than a lot of games that it happens to be behind. 44 is the one where I start really wanting to punch whoever makes these lists and claims that they're unbiased, claims that they're 100% fair, even, true, equal, and right and proper. Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. You know, the one that saved the gaming industry after the 1983 crash, the one that made Nintendo, the one that made Mario, the one that gave us Bowser, Princess Toadstool, Goombas, Koopa Troopas, Hammer Bros, Bullet Bills, so on and so forth. Your first proper real platformer, Warp Zones. I mean, everything we know of video gaming from the 1980s on started really with Super Mario Bros. Because it was the one that made Nintendo no longer an arcade company, but a proper console company, really starting consoles as we now knew it, the Nintendo Entertainment System, Famicom, whatever you want to call it. The NES. I mean, video gaming started proper true, which is what led to a decade later with PlayStation, a decade later with freaking online gaming, and now a decade later with digital gaming. I mean, really, your trend-setting game is Super Mario Bros., and that's 44. That's below so many games that I don't play, I will never play, and I get that they're great in their own ways, but Super Mario Bros. Is nowhere, no way in hell should be 44 in the top 100 list. It should be top 5, if not the #1 game of all time, because of the fact that so historically significant, and they throw that shit straight out the window when they do these lists, because we don't care, there's better games now. So what? Without Mario Bros. Success, you would not be playing your better games now. Okay, so two ahead of that at the first, Resident Evil for PlayStation, and that should be, RE2 is better for me, in my opinion. It's a much better game, and that should, I think we flipped those, but both of those should be in the top 40, and sadly neither one is in the top 40. God, okay. Two ahead of that is the lone arcade, again, Street Fighter 2, and that's your basic, that's the one they continue. I guess that maybe include all of the Street Fighter 2 variations, your Turbos, your Supers, your New Warriors, what have you, because they had so many of those across so many consoles. But arcade, that's the only real arcade mention on this. Other games have some arcade tied to it, I get that. But to see that so low is so wrong. Okay, so ahead of that is Mario Kart 64, which is my personal favorite of the entire Mario Kart franchise. That's 39, that should be higher for me. Ahead of that is Tetris at 38, and oh lord, Tetris is, the puzzle king. Without Tetris, the Game Boy would not have sold at all, really, until it may not have even had the longevity if Tetris hadn't been there. We may not have even seen Pokemon, which we're going to get to briefly as to where it ranks and how wrong that is, where it ranks. It's not going to get pretty, folks. I'm pissing people off, but I don't care. Assassin's Creed 2 is not better than Tetris. Half-Life is not better than Tetris. Legend of Zelda Link to the Past is good, and that's at 35, and that should be a bit higher, but Tetris, I think, should be in the top 10, and Link to the Past is fine at 35, or maybe sneaking into the top 30. Halo Reach is not better than Link to the Past. Doom, I'm assuming this is the original, your 90s era PC game, is 32. That should be higher. That should be top 25. Ahead of that is GTA Vice City at 31, and that's annoying as hell. But thank God that's not better than listed at number 29, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Yes, Pokemon's 29 in the top 100 games of all time. The original Game Boy versions are 29 in top 100 games of all time. Below Arkham Asylum. Worse than a Batman game. I'm sorry, Batman is great, and I love comics, I love the movies, I love the cartoons, and I love the games. Batman is not ever going to be better than Pokemon in 90% of people's eyes, and this is one of those cases where people who make these lists just piss me off. Pokemon Red, Yellow, and Blue is top 10. Pokemon's the second best-selling franchise of all time, behind Mario, the best-selling handheld series of all time, and these are probably the 3 best games. I think everybody who plays Pokemon will agree. And I don't play Pokemon. I'm going to be getting one of the games for 3DS here soon, X or Y. I know I should start with one of the originals, but there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to piece together cartridges, link cables, and somebody actually play those with locally. Because remember, there's no Wi-Fi, and it's all freaking wired, and it's all freaking old school. There's no digital online for Game Boy games, unless they somehow port those to the 3DS Virtual Console with full-on Wi-Fi support. Okay. So, Pokemon 29, and that makes me want to punch everybody who writes these lists and discounts gaming history and the fact that games that are ahead of these games in 15 years will be forgotten because they're one-shot. They're one-hit wonders. Okay, Resident Evil 4 is 27. Resident Evil 4 I loved on the GameCube. It was a pain in the ass, and I never really got into it because I died too much. Getting your head cut off with a chainsaw kind of turned you off the game. That's 27. That should not be ahead of RE1 or RE2. I'd put that's fine at 27, but then the others have to jump at least 5 or 6 spots ahead of that. Ahead of that is Metal Gear Solid 3. I don't know those games well, so I'm not going to go into it. I like Snakes, so Snakes is good. I think that's a good spot for those games. Unless you know them better and you know when you want to explain to me why those should be higher or lower, that's fine. I don't think any of those games should be top 20, so 26 is a good spot for Metal Gear Solid 3. Super Mario Kart, the original of the Mario Kart spin-off, the first Mario spin-off, proper Mario spin-off. Granted, Mario is a spin-off of Donkey Kong. Don't say it isn't because it is. Super Mario Kart is 24. I think that's good, but I would probably put that at least at 20. Twilight Princess is 23. I'd put Mario Kart ahead of that just personally. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, I think that was the game that was supposed to beat Super Mario Bros. Wii when that came out a few years ago, and it ended up selling really nothing. It ended up, I think maybe if you add the console, the multi-port versions of that, it may have outsold Mario Bros. Wii, but I think Mario Bros. Wii I think Mario Bros. Wii should be on this damn list of Modern Warfare is. Super Mario Bros. 20. So here's the top 20, and I'm gonna go a little more ranty with this. Super Mario World. Okay, we're in the 1990s falling on now. You'll notice one game I haven't mentioned so far, and I'm not going to mention it because it's not listed. Well, I'm going to mention it, but it's not listed. Super Mario Bros. 3. If you know your Mario, and you grew up in the 80s and 90s like I did, and like so many of us did, was the game that you had Mario Bros. 1, which was good, which was, oh, this is so cool, this is such a wild, interesting, such a wild game, just like so creative. Mario Bros. 2 was the weird one. That's not on this list. I think it should be, personally. But that's fine. Mario Bros. 3 is not on this list at all. Mario Bros. 3 was the one that gave us the Koopa Kids, that gave us super suits like Tanuki, Frog, Raccoon, and Hammer. Gave us the map screen, gave us Mario could fly. I mean, so many things. So many new characters, so many bad guys. The flying ship. The first Mario mini games. Okay, granted, Super Mario Land had mini games, and that was technically before Mario 3 came out here in the U.S. And Mario 2 had the card matching slot machine thing between levels, so I guess. But Mario 3, I mean, I'm not even gonna, look past that crap. Mario Bros. 3 is not on this list, and that is so wrong. It's so negligent as a gamer who's making this list to not include Mario Bros. 3 on your list. Are you flat out stupid? God. Okay. So, top 20. GTA San Andreas is 19. That should not be ahead of any Mario game in any list whatsoever. I am sorry. Mass Effect 2, I don't know. Whatever it is, Deus Ex 17. Mario 64, 60, Mario 64. I didn't like personally because 3D platformers are where Mario lost me for so long until the Wii with Mario Bros. Wii, because I didn't play any Galaxy and I didn't like Sunshine enough on GameCube to keep it long enough. Too much crap involved in those games. Mario 64 is 16, but I think most Mario games should be ahead of that historically. It's been around long enough. It's nearing 2 decades. That's fine. Seeing it 16 is fine, but the fact that that's the highest Mario game listed makes me want to just kill people. Half-Life 2 is 15. Nope. See, no, I'm not seeing that being ahead of any Mario game. Bioshock, Dark Souls, Batman again, number 12. So those are Arkham Cities. So you Batman fans are happy. You got Batman in the top 12 ahead of every Mario game ever made. Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Oh god, Skyrim. Yes, for PC gaming starts to annoy. PC gaming should not be included in these lists because it's not as... I don't care if it's on another system. It's a PC game first and foremost. That's where it's most powerful. And those games should not be listed in video games because they're not video games, they're computer games. I know the gap bridged from the Commodore 64 up till, the NES because that was the first, plug. This has to go to your TV. This is a full-on, you need your TV, so there's no keyboard involved anymore. Halo Combat Evolved is 10. Okay, I think this is one of the few Halos that's actually listed. Unless I am missing something, I think that is the only one listed. I don't know Halos. I know they're great games. They're huge. Your Xbox fans love those games. But Halo is nowhere. It has no right to be ahead of any Mario game ever made. Any Nintendo game ever made should be instantly ahead of that. Red Dead Redemption is 9. I don't know it, so I'm not going to go into it, but I don't think that should be 9. GTA 5, we all know that was a huge selling game on its launch window for both systems it came out on. Should not be 8. Just saying. Shenmue, don't know it. GoldenEye 007, I'm assuming that's the N64 original, and that was such a huge game for the N64, such a huge third-party game. That's the game everybody wants ported to the Virtual Console, which will never happen. Metal Gear Solid, that's the original. I'm guessing is 5. Final Fantasy 7 is 4. World of Warcraft is 3. PC gaming again, but that's fine. I respect it. That should not be 3 though. World of Warcraft should not be ahead of a lot of games. That can make the list, but I don't see that being out anything higher than the top 50, anything higher than 50, to be honest. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which is the highest Nintendo game ranked, and I don't know the game that well, but Zelda's great. Zelda should be good. I think if there's a Zelda game at number 2, it should not be Ocarina of Time. It should be the original, or it should be A Link to the Past. And then The Last of Us, which people are going to bitch about me for saying this doesn't deserve to be on any list whatsoever, because it doesn't, in my opinion. It's a great game. I know it is. I know people love it. People hate it. People play it. People don't like it, so on and so forth. It's PlayStation. Yes, PlayStation doesn't turn me on at all. Last of Us should not be ahead of any game that has actually stood the test of time. Last of Us is brand spanking new, for God's sake. It's fresh out of the box. It's the flavor of the month. Mario games, Pac-Man, Mega Man, Sonic, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat is not mentioned anywhere on this list. Again, there's no arcade mentioning with the exception of freaking Street Fighter 2 at freaking number 40. But there are no proper arcade games on this list. And Last of Us should not be ahead of any game, to be honest. Because it's the first of a series. But it's a series that hasn't even expanded beyond a series. I mean, it's a game. I can't even call it being the first of a series, because right now, for all we know, this is a one-shot wonder. It's a one-hit. It's a one-trick pony. I mean, Super Mario Bros. 3 is not on the list. Sonic is 53. Crash Bandicoot is 99. There's no Spyro. There's no Mega Man. There's no Pac-Man. There's no Pong. In these lists, I want to also include, because they, if we're going to include PC games, we might as well include pinball games, for God's sake. We might as well include Pong. We might as well include freaking old school games. We might as well include some, arcade shooters. I mean, seriously, there are so many games that are so much more well-deserved because they have earned their place in gaming history. They actually have a gaming history. They have actually lasted more than a year or two. Games that have been around since the 1980s and newer, for God's sake. Anything from the 1990s or older should be way ahead of anything from the 2000s or newer. I know there are great games. There's no Earthbound on this list, and that's stupid. There's no, a lot of things that are not on this list. Last of Us should not be number one. Last of Us should be... I don't even want to put it in the top 100 because I'm not saying it's bad. You play what you play. You like what you like. You hate what you hate. I get it. I don't hate it. I just don't understand why it gets ranked number one as the best game of all time. We're talking 30, 40 years of video games, guys. We're going back to Nolan Bushnell creating, doing what he did. We're going back to there's so many gaming geniuses who made all these games. Miyamoto. I don't know. I don't know many names offhand, but there's so many better games made by so many better people. And I know Last of Us well enough from people talking about it and from watching Craftword Online. It's a movie with game controls. That's not a game to me. That's just prompting something. That's a problem with new systems. They're trying to make PC games on a console, and that's just wrong. They're trying to make it a movie. Too much story, not enough actual gaming. But Last of Us should not be number one. There's no way in hell Last of Us is number one in my eyes. I think most people are going to agree with me. Even if it's a great game, maybe the best game of the generation. Maybe the best game on a PlayStation system. May go down as although I'm going to pick Crash or Resident Evil or Gran Turismo. There's no Gran Turismo. I mean, really, you're missing key franchises. I'm putting my top 10. I'm going to do top 10. This is really not in any sequential order. Top 10 are going to be Mario Bros. 3, Tetris, Mario World, Mario Land 2, 6 going through GameCube, Game Boy, Mario Kart 64. I'm going to have to go a couple, Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, I forget where I am now. I think I'm at 6 or 7. I'm going to go Lucky and Wild, a great arcade game, which is like a driving/shooting funny game. If I'm going to go arcade, I'm going to say one of the greatest games of all time is not even a video game, it's freaking Skee-Ball. I don't know where I am. You can count on it and comment if I went under or over. I'm going to say pinball in general. I know specific... I mean, I played a few that before. Doctor Who Pinball was awesome. I said that a year or so ago here in Portland. Pinball. The game that was at one point the first proper full-on coin-operated amusement game that was at one point considered gambling, and it was illegal in throughout most of the country in the 40s and the 50s and 60s. The first coin-op, which led to big Matt Bally and Williams and Gottlieb and other huge companies, which led to them developing other coin-op games, leading to arcade games, leading to video games. Pinball should be number one. I think 100. What is this? Top 100 games. Top 100 games. Seriously, I would put pinball at number one. And I'm not particularly great at pinball, and I would rank a lot of video games, number one, to be fair. But I think your Tetrises, your Marios, your Pac-Mans, your not a lot of sequels, but your original games, your basic 80s, 90s coin-op fodder. I'm putting so many games ahead of everything on this list. But yeah, Mario World, Mario 3, I'm counting. So Mario World, Mario 3, Tetris, Mario Land 2, Mario Kart 64. There's 5. Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, Skee-Ball, Pinball. I know they're vague, but come on, they're games. I think these are they probably those video games. Well, I'm putting these anyway. They're putting PC games and putting in fucking arcade games. You don't play PC games always with the controller. Well, you don't get freaking arcade games always with the freaking video screen. So 10. I'm going to just say I'll say freaking. I'm going with historical significance to the test of time. I'm putting Pokemon in the top 10. Pokemon has to be in the top 10. I don't even play the games. Not until I get one for XY for 3DS. But I mean, there's my top 10. I mean, Pinball and skee-ball, they're not video games. But, again, you're putting PC games in, I'm putting in pinball and skee-ball. Fuck you. That's the top 100 games, and then my top 10 games of all time. Video or not. In the little Wii U precursor. I'm doing so many more of these, and I'm gonna get through this finally without anybody annoying me. Comment below. Follow me on Twitter at FavoriteTSG. It's not spelled how it sounds. Except the TSG part. YouTube, Facebook, TheNintendoElement.com. I have 6 Twitters. Find me somewhere. Thank you.